and welcome back to Crafty Meraki's YouTube channel. My name is Aditi and I'm back with mixed media card inspiration using the amazing Blooms stamp set. I'm using a piece of watercolor cardstock right here and I have trimmed it down to 4 inches by 5 and a quarter, slightly smaller than an A2 card. And I am picking out the floral clusters from the amazing Bloom stamp set and just arranging them on the border. So for this card, I want to create a focus on the border of the card, having my sentiment in the center. Sometimes it's just fun to switch things up and create something unique and a little different. So you see here, I begin by placing a few floral clusters, placing my sentiment. I have taken my time to move them around to decide on the composition I like. Even while picking these stamps up, I decided to just remove that one single stamp there and finalized on these two floral clusters. So using the obsidian pigment ink, I am stamping these images on my cardstock, and I am then going to shift the two floral clusters to the top just to repeat that border stamping that I have done at the bottom. In this case, when I'm doing something like this, you see a lot of the stamp is offset and is out of the cardstock, just creating that illusion of continuity and depth. So I'm not too worried about losing the image, part of it not stamping on the cardstock. The idea here is having a part of it on the cardstock, just like creating a nice little border all around. So repeating that step, like I mentioned, I am stamping the two floral clusters at the top. And now I'm going to go in with clear gloss embossing powder from Wow and just sprinkle that over all of these stamped images and heat set that. What that does is gives me a nice crisp outline when I want to go watercolor in with it, as well as ensures that my pigment ink has dried quickly and there is no black ink smudge around on the card. So just quickly heat setting that, and if you're wondering, I used a lint roller to pick off any excess embossing powder and clean my desk. And here is a look at the shiny outline and time to play with some pigment powders. So I am using the Lindy's Under the Sea set 1 and 2, the magical shakers, as well as mini misters, and I have a paintbrush handy. How I do this for quick easy coloring: I just missed a portion of the stamp with water. I don't want it to be too soppy, so I've just dabbed it off. And then going in color by color, I'm sprinkling in the areas where I want the color. So I want the flower center to be yellow. I've sprinkled the yellow there, misted it with water again. And then I am sprinkling the pink on the flower petals, just a little bit, inner regions of the flower, and then misting it with water so that the color starts to flow. Basically, the pigment powder is coming in contact with the water and reacting. And then I'm using my paintbrush to just dab and drag off the color at places where there is no color. So just gentle strokes, dabbing motion with the paintbrush. I am making sure that I have the color on all the petals and extending it outwards. So in this manner, I'm just going to continue and build color portion by portion on the flower clusters. So I'm coloring the tiny flowers with coral, repeating the same step, basically misting with water, sprinkling the magical powder, misting that further with water, going in with my paintbrush to dab and ensure that I have color all around. Now you can see that I have some color that is outside of the flowers, so I'm using a paper napkin and just lifting off anything. This I am not too bothered about because ultimately I am going to splatter and create that loose fluid look around the flower clusters ultimately. But just doing that, I am then for the leaves mixing the green with water on my stamp mat right there and using a paintbrush and picking the color and dabbing that on the leaves, simply because the leaves are too tiny and I don't want the green sprinkling and bursting everywhere. I am just using my paintbrush to paint the leaves in this easy way. So I've used the true tone green first and then mixed yellow onto that existing green to create a nice little olive green to distinguish some of the leaves from other and to bring in a little shading and dabbing that. So I am also going over the other leaves, dabbing a little bit of this, misting with water, lifting it off, just to create that organic shading that I was talking about. And this is the loose watercolor style that I enjoy doing. Now bringing in some more color, I am misting with water, bringing in a little purple, a little blue, sprinkling that on there on the flowers. Again, using my paintbrush and stretching the color out to the areas where it hasn't reached. You see the buds are really tiny and I went ahead and sprinkled blue. So I have blue all around the buds, but I just use my paper napkin and lift it off, not too bothered about that being outside of the lines, because that in itself creates a very nice look, adding to the look of the loose watercoloring that I was talking about. It just enhances that further, bringing in a little bit of the color to the background, and so I am not going to worry about it like I mentioned before. So continuing that, I am finishing coloring the floral clusters, and if you see the way I have stamped these, I have the same floral cluster opposite each other, and I'm coloring the same floral clusters with the same colors to create that sense of balance. So then I have purple and blue on opposite sides, I have the pink, yellow and orange on the opposite sides, and I have a full rainbow going on around the border of this card. So in this way, I have balanced my colors, I am maintaining a continuity, and I'm also maintaining a sense of color balance and harmony while I am doing this. So now I am just mixing a little pink on my sticky mat right there to splatter, and I am going to use a paintbrush and splatter the pink around the flowers, especially in the areas where I have pink. I then go back in, pick the coral from what I have on the stamp mat and stamp that around those flowers. I pick the green and splatter that. I'm sorry, I said stamp, but I meant splatter. So I splatter that around the leaves, and I just pick any excess purple and blue on the side from the sticky mat and splatter that around those floral clusters. So that way, around the floral cluster, I've just added a little splatter of the same color, creating that burst and organic look. Ultimately, I'm going in and splattering white acrylic ink just to break it further, to break all the color and add a little more mixed media touch to this card. Now for the assembly, I have a black card mat, I have a piece of fun foam, and I have a top folding A2 card base that I want to use. I am going to use red tape, which is double-sided tape, on the fun foam, adhere that to my black card mat on one side, and I will just use liquid adhesive to glue the entire card front panel to the black card mat. Now the card mat is just 1/8 of an inch bigger than my card panel, because I just wanted a thin little black border peeking through. And then ultimately this entire piece is slightly bigger than our A2 card base, giving me a nice white border on the card base as well. So these tiny details just really make sure that all the color pops up, and the layers, the borders ultimately give a nice clean look to the card, especially because the focus here was on the borders and I've stamped the images on the borders. Adding these extra little mats and borders enhances the look of the card. So to me, this would still classify as a clean and simple card, but a mixed media style clean and simple card. So here is a closer look at the shine and the details and how this has turned out. I really hope that this inspires your next card creation. Do share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know how this has inspired you. And until the next time, take care and bye bye.